Hello, viewers. A very good evening to you all. Once again, back to Triangle Toronto. And we're here tonight, once again, with another distinguished guest and talk about the hospitality business in particular and how it has been through the pandemic and all. And let me have all the pleasure and privilege to welcome the CEO, Equal Parts Hospitality, Mr. Jerrett Young. Could we have Jerrett on the screen, please? Hi, Jerrett. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening, Taslim. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
All things considered, not so badly. Thanks.
Fantastic. Jerrett, thank you so very much for being on the show. We at Triangle Toronto, we try to reach out to people, industries, regardless of sectors and disciplines, to really talk about contemporary issues of importance to the community, business, and all. And obviously, COVID being the predominant factor and in our lives in all aspects, we have been through it. In touch with people from all strata, and you particularly being from the one of the hardest hit industry, which is hospitality, must have seen it right from the front. I mean, from your own eyes, and have been through it for about a year. It's almost a year, and we don't know how it will go. So we'll just highlight a couple of your experiences, your thoughts on how it has been, or it is, or it will be in the days to come. At the very onset, we would love to hear about your ventures first, because we know it has been quite diverse in nature, of course, under the purview of hospitality. But tell us about your ventures.
Sure. Well, Equal Parts Hospitality is owned by myself and my business partner, Jason Cassis. The short story is we own 3 restaurants in Hamilton. We also have an event space that was supposed to open last January, which has not opened yet. We also are the exclusive caterers to a golf course in Hamilton that typically does about 60 to 70 weddings a year. That last year did maybe 10 or 15. And we also are partners with a group of amazing individuals who have launched the Laundry Rooms, which is a boutique hotel brand. And we were going to open the first location with about 34 rooms, and we opened with 9, I think. And I also own a large event staffing company in Toronto that used to have about 375 subcontractors working in it, which we haven't really done a large-scale event in a year. So, but so diversified, but all in hospitality. So I suppose not diversified enough.
But then again, you have branched out, in course of time into areas of hospitality, and certainly you have done great. And as I was talking to you off the camera, that all your chefs, all your resources are still with you, being loyal. And of course, a person must have to have the vision. I mean, from the owner perspective, so that the loyalty is created, and people are with you because they are the strength, right? They drive the whole thing. So it's great, and I must congratulate you on that front.
Thank you. Yeah, in March last year, we laid off about 120 people. We kept one of the restaurants open for takeout and delivery, and not all 3. And then about a month later, 6 weeks later, we realized that this thing was not going to be a 6-week thing. This was going to be a year long, if not longer. So we opened up the other 2 restaurants for takeout and delivery, and we brought back the chef and GM of each restaurant. You're absolutely right. The leaders of those restaurants are the reason why they are still going. You made a point earlier on, I think, backstage that what happens 2 months from now is going to look very different than what happens today. And you're spot on, and that has been the last 12 months. And the chefs and GMs and our director of culinary have been on point for the last 12 months, doing what is necessary to keep our restaurants open. They have served, they have bartended, they have dishwashed, they have been delivery drivers. They have really done everything that we could have asked and wanted from them. And it's the best group of people that I have worked for thus far. It's pretty amazing because they have personal stuff as well. It's not just, we've all been affected personally. And so for them to navigate and be cheerleaders of ours is pretty special to me, I think, at this point.
Yeah, that's quite a phenomenal story, as I can hear out from you, and of course all the viewers who are watching or will be watching in our newsfeed. That's phenomenal, wonderful. So now going back to the crisis thing, obviously you're hit. We have already heard, you had to lay off people and all. So you have seen it right from the front, right? Because this is such an unusual, unexpected impact that you have been through. So. Mm-hmm. How deep is the cut? Very simply put.
Oh, the cut is deep, and the cut is long for sure. We knew, like I said earlier on, that this thing was going to last a long time, and we started planning for that in the summer. We were fortunate that we had patios, and I think if you didn't have the strategy in place to say, how do I survive for 18 months in this condition, then it's going to be very difficult to recover. I think our industry certainly is going to take 2, 3, 4 to 5 years before it is full. And maybe not restaurants, but when you think of international conferences that have 5,000 to 10,000 people traveling across the globe, those conferences are planned 4 years in advance, 5 years in advance. So when you think of that, and you think of the next international conference in Toronto, you're talking 3, 4, 5 years from now. So we have to be prepared. And I always say it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? But definitely the cut is deep. And we have to continue to look for new opportunities and to be creative with what we offer our employees and what we offer our guests. So,
yeah, true. Taking it from there, yes, of course, the cut has been, the impact has been tremendous, terrific, devastating to an extent, obviously. So you must have done some remodeling or some transformation in the process, in the strategy as to managing all these SBUs or initiatives, if I may say. So throw us some light on those areas where you really had to do a complete shift in strategy or your transformation in business or remodeling to an extent.
Yeah, well, we were never a takeout and delivery company. We were not in the world of Uber Eats. We were not in the world of skip the dishes. If you watch some of my earlier interviews in this and articles that people ask me for my opinion, I am not admittedly a huge fan of Uber Eats and delivery. It took me a while to wrap my mind around what that meant for us. But I came to this realization that we can offer an experience to our guests still, as long as we are committed to making sure that the food quality is there, and that when a delivery driver or a guest picks up their food, that they, in that small moment, know how much we care about them, right? And then luckily, I was introduced to an amazing company called Science Media, who helped me and helped our company build a Shopify site. And all of a sudden, what we traditionally celebrated as holidays, we put on this platform. So Mother's Day, Harvest Feast in the fall, New Year's Eve, we did our own winter eats program with valued priced menus. All of that went online. Yeah. And every time we did that over the past 12 months, it gained more and more and more momentum. And we were very thoughtful. The GMs and chefs were very thoughtful about how the packaging was. Like New Year's Eve, there was balloons tied to every package, right? And we really tried to take, well, how can we create an experience for these people who would have experienced this holiday in our restaurant? So I think that's been really, really good for us. It is trying to establish different channels of revenue, but with the same brand values and standards. And people have really, I think, really appreciated that. We also twice now have partnered with some large-scale catering companies. So in the summer, we provided 200 meals a day to a factory in Kitchener-Waterloo who were making face shields.
Wow.
And we had no idea how to do 200 individual package meals. And luckily, the team figured it out. We had to drive 200 meals every day for 8 weeks to Kitchener-Waterloo. But that really, really saved us in the summer. And now we've partnered with a local company here called Prep Fresh, who we're the exclusive caterer for them. And we make food for the week. So people can order online and get food delivered for their entire family for the week. If you had asked me 24 months ago if I'd be like excited about, takeout delivery and online platforms, I'd be like, you're crazy. I know. But I've had to really wrap my brain and for lack of a better term, my heart and my emotion around this and say, how can we make it great? And luckily galvanize the team as well to try to kind of not embrace, but make peace with where we're at right now.
So I'm sure it's been a paradigm shift for you, right?
For sure. Yeah.
And I mean, you and your team really had to be creative enough to engage the consumer, because the whole consumer journey has changed, and you really had to work it out, be creative enough to kind of provide that experience right at that point of the journey, so that, as you were saying, that giving them the experience that as they might have had in your places, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I think you're absolutely right. It's a matter of saying, okay, if I'm a guest and I would normally come into your restaurant on Valentine's Day, what does Valentine's Day look like now, right? And there were some holidays that we would give them access to the playlist that would play in the restaurant as if they were dining in the restaurant. So they would order their meal, they would get a link to Spotify, and it would be the Aberdeen Tavern's playlist for Mother's Day or whatever the holiday would be. And you see the people and we have a great marketing person, Sarah, and she's really engaging with our guests. And you can see them listening to the music that they would listen to in the restaurant, eating the food that they would have eaten in the restaurant. And it's great. Do I long for the day that I can sit beside a guest that I know and in the restaurant and shake their hand? Of course I do. But I think there's a reality to where we are at, and when you can embrace that and realize that you have to create opportunities in the present, that is very powerful. It's not going to be like next year. We'll have different challenges and obstacles in 2 years from now. But if you do that now and you build your confidence as an organization, then you'll be better off the next obstacle you have and the next obstacle after that.
Absolutely. I must salute your leadership, the way, it's not always being visionary. Somebody has to be adaptable too. The thing that you said, had it been a discussion 2 years back, you would have said, forget it, Dustin. Uber Eats, come on, why? So someone is flexible enough as well, right, to accept these facts.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think sometimes when you are too stubborn or you're too set on a certain path, then you miss opportunity. right? And I think what this pandemic has certainly taught me is sometimes you've got to, it's okay to take the blinders off a little and say, how can I do this and still be a leader and still go along the vision? And it's okay if it goes a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. You know, do people still value what you're doing? And the answer is yes. And I know this is a bit cliche, but you also have to have fun doing it. You know, the world is a heavy place right now, and you have to be able to have fun with your team and you roll your sleeves up. I mean, I have not bartended and served in years, and I was bartending and serving. And I don't know. I don't think I was very good at it, but you know, I think it changed the relationship that I have with some of the people in the company because they saw me in a different light, which I think is a good thing.
And to me, you must have done well without even saying that because you did it with passion for your brand. That I'm sure of.
Well, I appreciate that. I think I can only speak for hospitality, but I cannot imagine being in this business and not loving it. Because if you do not have a passion for it, you would be better off taking your money and sleeping with it underneath your pillow. It is a lot safer there than it is in hospitality. So I think you have to have a passion for serving people, whether it be at the leadership level or at the guest level. I think you have to have a passion for what food represents to people and gathering, which is an international phenomenon. Because otherwise you become jaded and you become not creative, and you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. But you can sniff out the restaurants that are doing it just for the sake of doing it. You know that. You can taste it in their food. You can see it in the service.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. It has to be done by heart. No doubt about that. Yeah. So the question that's rumbling around my head is like, now that the whole paradigm has shifted, Jerrett has kind of agreed and have done well in the space of virtuality or takeaway or whatsoever we call it. Will Jerrett stay in this space, or when things go normal, he will go normal too?
The answer to that is both. I think that there is a way, instead of looking at coming out of this as either or, I think there's an and. There is, can we do New Year's Eve online and do New Year's Eve in our restaurants? Can we do Mother's Day brunch online and in a restaurant? Can we do virtual cooking classes, which we've done?
Oh, wow.
And this. Can we deliver cocktail kits, which we've done to 30 households across the province, and do a bartending class and serve guests at our bar? And the answer is yes. So I actually am excited to not be in a space where it has to be only one thing, where imagine in a world at some point in time where we're going to be able to do both. Yeah. And we're going to have to figure out how we manage that business. And that is way more exciting than where we are right now, only relying on one single revenue stream, right? Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, will I stay in the Uber Eats world? I don't want to comment on that right now. Will I absolutely try to figure out a way that somebody can stay home on New Year's Eve and enjoy an amazing dinner with great reheating instructions and New Year's Eve hats and all this stuff? Absolutely, because you can have it all, right? Like it's like the people who say, profits or people? Well, no, it's profitability and people, right? And when you start sticking and in those sentences, the world is your oyster.
Great. So I'm sure that I and personally a lot of people who know you, your brand, your guests will be looking at that and in the days to come. And obviously, a lot more to come from you, I'm sure, because you have been so creative as an organization, as an individual, as a team, to sail through the crisis. We've got a couple of questions. We'll get into that, but before that section, which is the last part of it, I would I request you to throw in some suggestions to, we have been talking to a couple of people who have started or who were supposed to start businesses, restaurants, and areas of hospitality, but they stopped their launch. Some people launched, but being very difficult for them to survive, right? Yeah. So obviously, as a veteran, you could throw some suggestions to them as to what would they hold on to, or what's the best possible way to sail through the whole crisis.
It's the first time I've been called a veteran, so I'm going to have to rest with that for a little bit. I know I'm going to say this, and I know it's more difficult than just this word, but just start. Just start. Waiting for that perfect moment, waiting for that perfect break in this to start. I think you're going to do yourself a disservice. And if you're 40% from your vision, that's okay, as long as you are working towards that. Don't feel like you are selling yourself short. If you open with, you've had this opening menu and it has 20 menu items on it, don't open with 20 menu items. Open with 5 and make it great, and build connections and employ people and market yourself. And then after a while, add 3 more dishes and get the word out that you're building and you're creating and you're building, and continue down that path. And eventually, step by step by step by step, you will have the business that you wanted from day one. But perfection, is a myth in normal times. Perfection is elusive now in a pandemic. So you take those baby steps. Just start. Get your name out there. Show people that you are working hard, and they will respond to that, right? They will respond. So for those, I get it. I understand. We have an event space that was supposed to be the space for 200-person weddings. Okay, well, you know what? We're going to make this space beautiful for the 10-person wedding that we can have. So I encourage you just to start, and don't start for the sake of starting. Start with the little kernel that is your brand and your values, and move forward. I hope that answers your question. Oh, your mic is muted.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also it answers obviously, and also covers the question. The first question that we had is like your suggestions to the entrepreneurs coming in. Yeah, and the other question that we have is what will happen to all of the students who are studying culinary in different places? They had a big hope from the industry, but the industry might be shrinking in the days to come as to size and all. So, what is your thought on that? So that's the second question.
I have lots of thought on that. I think I'm of two minds. I think that, as of right now, 10,000 restaurants have closed in Canada in the past year, which at first thought we'd think there is going to be so much great talent out there to get if you're still around. And I think in the short term, there might be. There's a long-term consequence to this, and that is the people that wanted to go to school for culinary, or who wanted to go to school for hospitality, are thinking, is this really such a good idea? So all those people that were in a 2-year or 4-year program are not going to be available to us. So what I can't predict the future, obviously, what I think is going to happen is there's going to be a huge talent gap for a little while. And I think what's going to have to happen is the organizations are going to have to spend a considerable amount of time training people that may have gotten the training in school, right? Because they'll come with a different education, an online education. They need to be retrained on certain things. So there's going to be this gap. And also, I think what's it's going to force organizations to do, which is not a bad thing, is really take a hard look at the people that are already in their organizations and say, how can I do better? How can I do better? Because these people, I need them because they are not going to be replaced so easily by others. So I think there's some obstacles there, but I also think there's a way to look at it as some opportunity, certainly in the training, development, and the HR space, for sure.
Yeah, great. Lovely thoughts on that front. And I think I would be getting back to you. We would be getting back to you for a complete session on the entrepreneurship front of the whole thing, because we are here concentrating a bit on this pandemic and the crisis stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's another question. I mean, we're almost at the fag end of the show tonight, but the last question, if I may want to take, is, given all the context and the perspective and the strategization and everything that you have done, remodeling, mm-hmm. what do you think would be the skyline of the industry in the days to come, considering the fact that that pandemic would slow down, is down, it will not, it's not going to be fading away very soon. So how do you look at the near future, or say 1-2 years from now on?
So I think people are ready to dine again. I think people are ready to travel again. I think they're looking for entertainment. And so I think there may be a roaring 20s moment where people are out just partying and eating and having a great time. So I think the demand is going to be great. That being said, I think you cannot take that demand for granted. And I think that for us as a company, we're going to be very strategic at what we offer, because we have a lot of ground to make up from our cost perspective, from our sales perspective. We are going to be not slow, but strategic in making sure that we empower our leaders to be incredibly business savvy. We have lots of strategies in place. Right now, 2 of the restaurants are doing a prix-fixe menu, 2 courses. Mm-hmm. It helps keep our food inventory low. It helps keep our food waste very low. And it's still offering guests the amount of choice that they're looking for. Our cocktail program, 12 months ago, every restaurant had a different cocktail program. Now all 3 restaurants share the same cocktails. So there's no change in execution. It's very simple. We have one person make all the syrups that we need. Those are just some examples. So I think we have to be careful that we don't say, we're back and the world is back. Because let's face it, we have 12 months, 18 months, and in the event business, 2 years of business to make up. So I would approach this strategically and thoughtfully on how you reopen. We have staff that have not been in front of a guest for 12 months. Yeah. You can't just say, here you go, it's a Saturday night, you're going to serve 30 people. Yeah. We need to get used to each other again. So that takes some time. And if you don't do that, you're going to lose good people. So I think it's going to be easy for some groups to celebrate. I'm the eternal optimist, but I'm going to be a strategic optimist, if that is such a thing. So, yeah, I don't know if am I supposed to be answering Ronnie's questions in the chat here, or is that something that
I'm just throwing it to you.
Okay. Trying to go back and forth, but yeah,
not a problem. So great. I mean, to be very honest, I also feel that it's going to be quite a task, but I completely agree and appreciate the fact that someone needs to be quite strategic and creative, innovative, whatever you call it, in their approach to reopen themselves, if I may say that. But obviously there will be a demand, as you rightly said. And as I was talking to another rep from the industry, had the same view that the demand will be there, but the question is, how do you address the demand? That is going to be the key. It's not like as you said, the demand is there, we go and jump for it. It's not like that. So a customized, tailor-made approach has to be there, and I'm sure that you will be able to do it quite right, because the portfolio that you have, the business and all the SBUs and all the initiatives that you have taken, right from the laundry room to the Equipas hospitality and all these things that you have done during this pandemic. I'm very optimistic about your coming days.
We need all the optimism we can get, but and I appreciate the thought and the words. I've always maintained, leaders need followers, and I am one piece of a small piece of the puzzle. I'm a relatively unknown name, believe it or not, in this company. The chefs and GMs and our director of culinary and my business partner, Jason, they're the people that are front facing and know everybody and this and that. So, I think it takes a village to get through what we've done and what we want to accomplish. So I'm looking forward to the future, and man, not having to wear a face shield and a mask 10 hours.
Jerrett, at the end, I congratulate you for all the success that has been there so far, for all the innovation and the creativity and leadership and the vision that you have put through. And the result we have seen, the loyalty among your people, and of course the optimism that you carry for the days to come. I congratulate you for that and wish you all the best days to come. And as I said, I must have to get back to you maybe after 7 or 8 weeks, to see how the whole dynamics is working out.
The first question you need to ask me: are you still doing Uber Eats? That should be the first question.
All right, we will open up the whole discussion the next time.
Well, listen, I appreciate your team reaching out to me and inviting me. I always like the chance to chat about the industry, and as you say, now a veteran, I suppose I will always offer my time and my knowledge, and my experience to whoever wants it. So. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jerrett, once again for being with us. And we know the first question of the next show for sure. So, we wait for that. And I welcome all the viewers to the next show in advance and with a very known question. And that ends today's show. And once again, thank you very much for being with us tonight, Jerrett. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.